Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist, and we have two special guests because I'm not at our normal place. We're in Gen Con 2016.
Not 2017 yet.
Almost. So, with me is...
Hi, this is Matt from The Drunk and the Ugly. Again, I've been in a couple other ones. Listen to Godzilla and Happy Happy.
And then drink your sorrows away.
Yeah, sure. Happy Happy has a game built in to do that.
Yeah.
Yay.
So does Godzilla, actually, too.
Yeah, it came later. We played the drinking game on Happy Happy.
Yeah.
And I'm Charlotte. I sometimes try to make movies.
Aren't you already making a movie? You're part of making a movie?
Part of making a movie. So that's my qualification. Sometimes I do stuff for The Drunk and Ugly.
Yeah, she's one of our editors and one of our forum moderators.
Yeah.
And you also graduated from film school.
Yes.
So you will have some background for what we are about to do, because we are...
I hope so.
And we are here to discuss those things, most creepy and most pasta. Not a story, but some videos from...
Nana825763.
Yes.
A.K.A. PiroPito.
And the videos are username 666 and Poco Poco Picotan. So yeah.
Say that 10 times fast.
No. So yeah, these ones have been on our suggestions lists for at least less than 2 years. When Matt first suggested them, like on a Skype message or something. So it's been long running. So we decided since like we get together once every year at Gen Con, might as well do the ones that are been on the backlog for a long time and are actually connected to it. So yeah, username. I guess we'll just dive into what.
Well, we can talk a little bit about PiroPito because there's not a lot to say about him, but you can find Nana825763. That's his YouTube channel.
Yeah. He's
also PiroPito on Twitter, and if you go to his Twitter, you can find his Geocities page, which is all in Japanese, but most of the stuff from that, he has a lot of early Flash animations on there, but most of that is on his YouTube channel now under other names. He hasn't uploaded so many only Japanese things to the YouTube channel. He lists some of his... a lot of his videos tend to follow a theme. They're all sort of like weird animated videos that I think he cited one of his inspirations as Susan Pitt, who did a lot of very obtuse and kind of like really. I'll just say that one of her things is played in theaters usually before David Lynch's Eraserhead. Really? So yeah, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but yeah, she's got an 18-minute short that usually gets played before Eraserhead. So
that should clue you in a little bit.
So it's
a primer for David Lynch at his David Lynchiest.
That is the inspiration of this guy. All right.
Yeah, and you can see some of that in some of his early videos. The first video on his channel is called Doll, and it follows the aesthetic that you'll see in his later videos, but it's specifically a music video. And the music doesn't seem to really coalesce well with the visuals. But he does a lot of very surreal, nightmarish kind of animation, and also has a almost 10-year-long series about his ant farm.
Okay, so
what a great guy.
The ant farm. So it is actually just like a mockumentary kind of thing. Or
no, it's about his ant farm. He bought an ant queen, and it's why it's called Queen Achan's diary, because he's just he bought an ant queen, and then she created an ant farm. And he's just been building. He's just been building. There are weird stingers at the end of those for his horror videos, because he makes these in addition to his horror videos, which take his big projects. His most recent one called Pico Pico Maze, which isn't even a horror video. It's just him drawing a maze. I think on like A0 paper, which is like 11 meters by 5 meters or something like that. And it took him 5 months, and then it ends with him lighting it on fire. Like. This is the kind of like
high art or like Lady Gaga-esque.
I think he framed the part of it that burnt that wasn't destroyed.
Wow.
But yeah, and he's got a lot of other, like, he's got some live action stuff that is, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like Alan Resnick kinds of comedy where it's as funny as it is disturbing. But
our favorite.
Yeah. So down to the videos, we were here to talk about the video that his most popular video, username 666, which was originally called SM666, released on NicoVision, and in fact, apparently, there's a Japanese meme called "Words You Should Never Search." SM666 is on that list.
Huh.
Okay.
Is it because of like superstition kind of thing, or is it like just...
It's just because it's like a weird shock video.
Yeah.
It was later remade 2 years later as another YouTube, which why if you go to his channel and watch username 666 and then another YouTube, it's like, wow, this really feels like the same thing.
That's just because he redid it.
Yeah, it was remade with better animation quality.
Yeah, because actually, the premise of username 666 is that it's like a found footage thing. We don't know who the protagonist is.
It's like found footage meets like Bloody Mary.
Yeah, exactly. It's like one of the like creepypasta ritual kind of things that you've also mentioned to me, anyways, off camera.
Yeah, off mic, off recording.
Yeah, off recording.
He could be a camera if he wants to be.
Where talk down your Q3s.
I think it's going through hell back too.
It can upload straight to YouTube.
Yeah. Like this guy's like just clicking on, like goes and find username 666, and just keeps like refreshing until he finds the channel.
Yeah, it says like this user has been suspended, and then all the icons change to broken GIFs that just say 666.
Yeah.
And one thing I did notice here, because I decided to freeze frame it, he hits refresh exactly 13 times before all the icons break. Then he hits it 7 before the page starts to melt, but then he hits it 13 more times.
Wow.
I'm not sure why it's 7 in the middle. I thought it was going to be 13 for all of them.
It's a lucky number.
Oh, no. Isn't 7, like, in Japanese culture, an unlucky number?
It might be.
I think, I don't know.
I know that 4 is looked on, because it also, I think, sounds like death. I don't know about 7, but maybe that might be the case.
I thought it was 7. I'm basing my knowledge off of the RPPR's podcasts, Tribes of Tokyo campaigns. So.
Oh yeah, then it might be.
Hey, semi plug. Anyways,
give a shout out to that show with thousands of listeners.
Yeah. So yeah, and then stuff just starts happening as he like starts exploring this new YouTube channel that's really like graphically kind of screwed up.
Yeah, everything looks like it's melted, and like all the text is distorted in this weird like lensing effect.
Yeah, and a lot of the videos are like kind of almost like I kind of got the idea, like the effect of it was like almost like a I don't know what's for the video or photo when you're like for a baby, like a fetus when they're in the
they're like ultrasound.
Yeah, one of them like an ultrasound like repeated. Like,
what's funny is if you go to other videos on his channel,
it's one of his other videos.
Yeah, it's one of his other videos that's actually been recolored. The first one that shows up is called Embryo, and honestly, the uncolored version of that is about as disturbing. And I think it's some kind of like message about abortion, because the official title in Japanese is "Don't Call Me Human."
Huh. Okay.
Or at least that's what it translated from on Google.
Well then.
Google Translate is a scary thing.
And then
it's like you don't want to know.
Yeah. And the other video is
Nun.
Yeah.
Or the drowning woman.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all connected. Like, it's all the videos that were...
It's all the other videos on his channel. Drowning Woman is also a really disturbing one.
Yep.
But I think the idea that's supposed to be conveyed is that he's, like, looking at YouTube videos directly from hell.
Yeah. This is Satan's personal YouTube channel.
Yeah. And then when the protagonist or whatever starts, like, tries to escape, like, turn it off and all that, it just starts being, like, unresponsive, and then, like, everything is unresponsive.
He goes to his bookmarks, and they all just say 666.
And there's this, like, weird, like, beat like, this. I wasn't sure if it was, like, his clicking, or if it was, like, a different, like, a beat that was being added in.
Yeah, well, you hear, like, a slamming on the...
But then it almost starts doing, like, almost like a melody to it, or, like, a
yeah, like, doom, 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 doom. And I think the only thing I noticed is that rapidly increases in tempo as we approach the end.
Yeah,
because
like heightening the mood, like heightening the atmosphere.
Yeah, and then as he looks around, he finally looks back to the video, and then the slamming ends.
Yeah, right as for like a split second, you see a hand come out of the window and
reach over the play bar.
Yeah, which was really like effective as like a creepy, like kind of a jump scary moment at the end of the video.
Yeah. And then it just goes to a test pattern, and it just ends.
Yeah, actually, Mikey, who couldn't make it here, Easton's for evil. That was actually one of his one comment about the video, because he didn't have much to say about it other than that he thought it was weird that this YouTube channel video that's supposed to be like screen capped essentially for the YouTube channel thing would have a TV tone, like a TV thing.
That kind of took me out of it.
That's the only part that if it just I feel like if it just ended without the test pattern,
it
would have been much more effective.
Yeah, or if it just artifacted or something, and you see like a blur of the hand reaching over.
It's like all of the Candlejack ones, where it's like, well, did Candlejack press send on the message? Like,
why did he write why did he write what he said when he was dying?
Maybe he wrote his.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, it's there isn't a lot of, like, we just described the narrative of this because this is a 4-minute video.
Yeah, they're both, like, really short videos.
Yeah, and it's, do we want to just go through both of them and then just kind of talk about
them? Yeah.
Sure. And then the next one is Poco Poco
Picotan.
Thank you. And it's, like, it starts off as this happy-go-lucky, cute, like, cartoon puppet show, like, cartoon puppet show, like, it's stop-motion animation, almost in the vein of South Park, in terms of, like, the paper-cut characters and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was,
I could see that.
And they're just running around, they're, like, trapped within this framework, except when they're not. Because they, like, sometimes they'll go through, like,
they'll go into the background,
come to the other side.
Yeah.
However, it's interspliced with this, like, hellish kind of, like, sequence where it suddenly goes, like, Silent Hill, or, like, rust-colored, like...
Yeah, this weird noise appears over the thing, and this, like, black hand reaches into the frame.
To, like, and starts, like, poking at things, and wherever it pokes, it causes, like, a blackness, and, like, causes some of the paper characters to disappear. And eventually, like, that, again, becomes more overpowering, and, like, all the characters are getting, like, squished out of existence, and the one, until, like, the one's left, and then, everything else is black and, like, this weird, messy, like, like, mud.
If you watch the making of, it's, like, it's a combination of, red paint, blue paint, or red paint, purple paint, human hair, and glue.
Oh, that guy's weird. It's like,
and it's just brushed onto the. There's also a making of video on this, which is fucking bananas. Like how much work went into this.
Jeez. Because a lot of work usually gets done for like stop motion animation. I know, like if it's done the same way as like South Park and stuff, where it's just like cut out paper and stuff, like those like took a couple of weeks to get done.
Yeah, and the thing is in South Park, the characters are just bases, and then they put the eyes and the mouths on them. In this one, the characters are all drawn on, so he's swapping out all those particular like things.
Yeah, it's more like I guess like the Coraline kind of thing, where they like just would swap out different heads.
Yeah,
that had different expressions. Yeah.
There's even separate ones for when one of the girls gets touched by the hand and is like marked.
Yeah.
It's not just a reuse of the other ones. Like there's a whole new set of like of cutouts for that. And yeah, it's interesting because like in the course of it seems like this is a sort of thing in all of PiroPito's live action or stop motion things, is that he actively destroys all of the props.
Yeah.
Because he had this frame, and then he just paints this like weird hair stuff onto it,
and then like by the end, and then by the end of the narrative of this thing, it's like it's all that weird painty hair, and then he just stamps out the last character.
Yeah, it burns it with a cigarette.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, and then he just uses a foot like a shoe and just
stomps on it. And grinds the rest of it out. Yeah. And I think one of the things that makes this kind of unnerving is just sort of, I'm not going to say that either of these are scary, but I am going to say that they are very like disturbing and uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, like,
and one of the things about it is that there's a sort of power creep of the hand that first it comes in and then it just leaves, and then it comes in and stays, and you can see that there's like this weird little cutout of a cloud that starts like dropping bombs on it and making it leave.
Is that what it's doing?
Well, first it drops like red stuff, and then you see it specifically dropping bombs that explode on the hand. And then finally, like, the first couple times that makes the hand leave, but finally, because the hand's always creeping in from the side of the frame earlier, but then the last time the hand leaves, it comes in and from the front of the frame punches the frame.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It comes in and it's this sort of thing where, like, the kind of horror of that is before before the characters were able to fight it because it was on their level. It was 2-dimensional.
But now it's
coming in 3D and destroying them from an angle they can't perceive or work in.
Yeah, and then it also happens when, like, I think later on, like, it pokes a hole in the frame, and then it's coming in from the other side. It's like, geez.
Yeah, it's coming in. Yeah, it comes in from the other side, and it starts like stabbing the frame and like cutting things and lighting things on fire.
Yeah.
And it's like...
It's more like a surreal, like, creepiness. Like, it's unnerving because it's just like, what am I watching?
Yeah, well, and also it's like, for me it's unnerving because there's no reason why. There's no motive. Like, you're like, who is this disembodied hand? Like, why is this...
Yeah,
why
and
are you doing this to these poor, cute, animated girls?
The best way I can describe this is, like, it's like somebody just... So there's no context, there's no motivation. It's like you're basically just watching a nightmare.
Yeah.
No, that's really it.
Just scary things happen for no reason, and you're not sure why you're afraid of it.
Yeah.
But you know it's there, and you know your dad's off in the corner, even though he's invisible, and then your teeth fall out.
What? What?
That doesn't happen in everybody's dreams?
No.
The teeth falling out. Ooh.
But yeah,
that's really the narrative of both of those. So
calling it a narrative is like generous. Like there's no dialogue.
There's a beginning, a middle, and an end.
All right, yeah. There's I guess I wouldn't say that there's definitely a sequence of events that you can follow. I wouldn't call it a story. Like there's not a through line or a plot or anything. It's just watching something like unnerving happen, like just watching a train crash or something like that.
Dr. Leviathan would be like, no, just like put the band hammer on this if I was to put this on the usual show. Because he needs to have his traditional narrative.
Because he comes from...
Traditional narratives are for losers.
Oh God, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it next week. If he hears this.
But yeah, I guess there's not a lot of plot we can discuss. So like it kind of comes down to like discussing the technical details of how these were produced and kind of what makes them unnerving and what kind of drives them, because they're not scary, but they're definitely like effective at whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah, I'll say Username 666 isn't as effective for me personally. It's technically really well done, but it's just like mainly the fact that they're using videos from the YouTube channel already.
Yeah, if you go in knowing that,
just because I had watched the one that was in Username 666 right before I watched Username 666, and I was like, oh, that's just the thing I just watched.
It ruins your immersion.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, like, for a lot of people, this is their first and maybe their only experience with PiroPito's work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, when I first watched it, when you first linked it to me, it was like, oh, wow, that's really creepy and kind of cool looking, like the way that it's done. Second time when I'm actually watching it for like this show, and it's just like, oh, like I could actually pinpoint where the YouTube like video that he was using for like using actual YouTube footage at the beginning, and to where it started becoming more just flash animation or like a
I think it was
stagnant image or something.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was like a lot of his early stuff is flash, and it probably moved to like After Effects after that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like once you start looking at it, some parts kind of break down, but otherwise it's a pretty like solid like animation.
Yeah, and I also just think there's something creepy about the aesthetic of Windows 95
or Windows XP.
Or Windows XP. It's just like, I don't know. It's just so obviously it wasn't antique then, but it's continued to age well because you're like, this is like some ancient technology that's doing this horrifying thing, and it reminds me of, do you know the blog Windows 95 Tips?
Yes, on Twitter.
With Neil Cicierega.
Oh, is that who does it?
Yeah.
I didn't know who was behind it.
It just reminded me so strongly of that.
Like, yeah, where it's just error messages that are like, sacrifice your children to continue.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're just like Photoshop kind of things?
Yeah.
It's none of them are real error messages.
Nice.
Windows 95 knows what you did last summer.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, to a millennial like that, like looking at this is like, what operating system? It's like somebody like looking at like an old 80s like internet. Oh, was the internet in the 80s?
Yeah, it's been around.
Okay,
it was.
Is the internet 80s?
So the internet the World Wide Web wasn't like widespread until like 1994, but you did have your dial-in connections and your BBSs. And it was all, yeah.
So yeah, like, I could see this, like, being, like, kind of how, or, like, how we think of, like, people nowadays, like, or, like, in our generation was, like, 8-track or VHS, even, like, now. Or, like, VHS is becoming, like, it's a very older technology. It's an old technology, or an old media. And so it's kind of got the same kind of, like, weight to it. Like, not
something very cryptic about it.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
people who weren't around for it.
Yeah, it's like why it's kind of like why Lovecraft used like old tomes, and why, and like as it went on, like people would use like for the Ring, the VHS tape was creepy.
Well, I think also part of the Ring was they realized that there's a lot of distortion you can do with VHS tape that's really. And that's one of the things here that one of the things that that he really likes to introduce in these sorts of videos. It's more apparent in another YouTube than in username 666, but he uses a lot of digital artifacting, which is like somehow in a lot of ways that's scarier than like static.
But yeah, because once you're like, I actually like when. Not even like artifacting, but like as soon as your computer freezes or doesn't shut down, you start getting anxiety.
Yeah,
like I had that happen while I was watching a horror Let's Play at full screen, and the video just stopped. The audio kept going, and I tried to hit escape, and it wouldn't let me. I was like, "Fuck!" What?
Yeah, I can say my scariest.
It means you're gonna die.
I can say my scariest nightmares are the ones where weird computer problems happen. There's no personal stake to myself. It's just this computer is breaking in a way I've never seen before and doesn't make sense.
Of course that's your nightmares.
I don't know why. Those are my scariest nightmares. Or just this computer freezes up and just starts making a single tone and I can't make it stop.
That's actually happened a couple of times at work.
Yeah.
Our power bars for our computers are not up to code. So we'll only have like 2 max minimum on them. Mm-hmm. But if anybody turns on the air conditioner right next to us, it not only like reboots the power bar, but sends our computers screaming, literally
no.
like this is like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah, so it's again like it creates that like computers not working the way they should definitely like create anxiety, and that is kind of captured in this video. Apart from the creepy videos that are being shown.
Mm-hmm. I also feel like one reason why it's not super scary is that it's a little heavy-handed. Too, like just all the look at the title of YouTube is now the number 666 repeated. Like okay,
yeah.
Sure.
Well, I think the scarier part of that is the YouTube graphic that's like got that's like melted celluloid now.
Yeah, it's stuff like that I think is way more effective than just.
I think that's why another YouTube was made and didn't have the specific 666 thing, because in that one it's go to experimental features and there's one at the bottom that's just called warning. And then he clicks it and it goes immediately there.
I dig it.
And then all the videos he goes to like actual videos and they're there, but they're like that's where a lot more of the digital artifacting shows up. Mm-hmm. And then it plays the like. That's one of the things is that there's a point in 666 where it seems like he's just kind of like browsing around, and I'm saying he because I'm a terrible misogynist, and I hate women. But where the cursor is clicking around, and then there's the screen goes black, and this error message with no text in it pops up, and then the screen locks to center frame. Yeah, and there's no way out of it. And I think the thing there is like originally it's just like, oh, this is like super fucked up to look at, and then at that point this is the point of no return. It's got you now. Yeah. And that's sort of the dread moment where it's like trying to close Internet Explorer, trying to. I like that there's the added that he went to the effort of adding in going to the task manager and trying to end a process. Yeah, exactly. And that doesn't work, and then trying to shut down, and that doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that anxiety of like, oh shit, my computer's frozen.
It's the part where you just throw the computer out the window,
or hit the turn off, or like pull off, like
run away. But then it's
in a horror movie. It would be where like the guy like runs under his desk and yanks the power cord,
yanks the cord out, and
it's still there.
Yeah, it's still there, and Samara's still climbing out of the TV.
So anything else for 666?
No, I've got one thing in general, but I'll save it for kind of more closing remarks.
The end. Sure.
Yeah.
So Poco Poco Picoton. I think I had said before there's a making of that's on this that's like really extensive that shows like the thousands of cutouts of things, and like there's a time lapse of putting up all of the characters and putting them on there. And one of the things that's really intense is for the part where the character gets burned with a cigarette. There were actually pre-burned characters, which were then he holds the cigarette out in front and has a blowtorch just slightly off camera that burns it a little bit more, so that the flame is captured by the stop motion camera.
Nice.
And then it's taken off, replaced with another pre-burned one.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand. Like, I've done like kind of animations like that back in back in high school and even like college. I did some animation projects. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that takes a long time. And, like the amount of effort that guy went through for that video,
it's really tough. Yeah.
And then on top of that, like the part of there's also the thing where to keep the set looking really gross you can see between frames at the end, he's like wiping on more glue.
Yeah,
that just drips down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's showing like.
So it just keeps glistening in a really weird way.
Well, and the great thing about that, as opposed to if he had done it as like a flash animation or in After Effects, is that you get that texture too. Yeah. So it's not just, this is a flat painting. This is like, no, this is like oozing in globs of real tangible things, kind of which is gross. Effect. Yeah.
Yeah, and on top of that, like, he destroyed all the props in the making of this. You can see when he punches in, the cloud thing is still there, but now it's covered in the weird, like, paint hair mixture.
Yeah.
So wait, did he actually, like, coat his hand in that stuff, too?
I think he put his hand on there and then painted a frame. Like, if you look at the things it's hard to tell because in the making of, they have it without the noise. So all you can see is a hand wearing a black, latex glove come in. Because that wasn't like that was all stop motion, so there were multiple frames of the hand coming to the frame.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And then painted on a bunch of gross stuff. There's another animation which is similar, I think, called Poco Poco Shopping. Which is that one's live action, but it has the same theme. It's live action and stop motion mixed, where it's supposed to be this Home Shopping Network channel. Where it's run by these two really creepy looking dolls. And the thing is that it's like played like a weird comedy video. Like there's really like upbeat, like peppy music happening in the background and everything's moving super fast. But then like in the background, like you just see like there's like all these things in the background, and then at random points, like one of there's like this plush animal that just melts while other stuff is happening.
Like, is it like stop motion and like melting?
Yeah, like stop motion melting while one of the characters is moving in real time. So like there's frame blending and chroma key shit going on. And then like there's also things where like the character they say like you're gonna get this for the low price of $6.66, and they have these candles that say 666 that are burning, and one of the characters, like, they're just dolls, so one of the characters is like waving their hands like enthusiastically into the candle and is like lighting on fire and still being just as like zany and wacky while also like burning. And there's just like, again, all of like all of the props in this are destroyed. The entire set is destroyed and like covered in weird blood gelatin clay mixture as the process happens.
Maybe we should have watched this one.
Yeah.
Hell, we can pause it and watch it right now and comment on it.
Sure. Yeah, I'll see that. All right. We'll be right back after these messages. And we're back after that horrifying 2-3 minutes.
Well.
So actually looking at it now, it's not frame blending. He just was constantly moving stuff and then changing frames every time a stop motion thing happened. Because if you look at the characters, you can see the jump cuts happening in their movements.
Yeah, because the hand goes in and...
Although he already established that as like a staple by having characters just constantly like twitching erratically in a way that doesn't make sense on camera.
Yeah.
So yeah, also adding to this Poco Poco Shopping.
All right, so...
I actually really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's
like fucking Alan Resnick humor.
Yeah, it's not like... I get what you mean. Like, it's not creepy, it's not scary, but it's, like, unnerving. Like, it's cute. It's not quite, like, juxtaposing, like, cuteness with, like, something really creepy and disturbing, but it's somewhere in that range.
So, this is funny, because if it weren't, I'd be scared right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah, it's that it keeps being, like, upbeat and happy while all this fucking like terrifying shit is just happening.
Yeah,
like the stage is just melting into blood, and everybody's like still.
And the teddy bear that just like is apparently
it just
ripped in two.
Yeah, melts and rips in half, and like guts come out of it.
Yeah, and then the doll, like the central doll, is just like starts like intestinal, like intestines or whatever start coming out.
I am delivery fresh meat.
Yeah. Oh.
Only $6.66.
Yeah, and it's just. And it's this thing where I feel like it's just making fun of other stuff that's like, look at how gross this is. Aren't you afraid of how gross it is? Mm-hmm. Where it's just like we're just jaded to like weird gore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As the entire set just catches on fire and melts into blood.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I just like I don't know how to react to this. It's like. I know that's the dolls are creepy, but it's also really cutesy, and the music is telling me otherwise that nothing's wrong.
Yeah,
but there's something clearly wrong here.
I'm not going to say it's playing it straight. Like
it kind of is though, but it's like
in a way that I can't. Like it's constantly playing it really wacky.
Yeah, it's playing.
It's just self-aware enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it does they show footage of like even if it's stop motion style kind of thing of the guy like quickly like putting things out when the fire gets too much.
Yeah, like the set starts burning down and then he goes around with a spray bottle to put out all the fires,
and then continues on the rest of the show.
Yeah,
but yeah, like I don't know what to think about it.
And there's something on PiroPito's Twitter that's the end of the set. After that, and it says something like dealing with biohazard waste is like so problematic, and it's just this
hashtag problematic.
And it's just this and it's just this weird. You just see this weird wall of like red gelatin, and then it kind of trails off to the set on either side of it.
Oh jeez. Yeah, I really don't know what else to say for that.
I bet he has a lot of fun filming them.
Yeah,
it's definitely.
I will say, like, his animation, like, it feels like he's got a really strong mastery, if not a mastery, a really strong grasp on animation and on that kind of like stop motion.
Yeah, well, I mean, his earliest stuff precedes YouTube. Like, he was doing Flash animations in 2004, mm-hmm. So like he's got some experience on this.
Is that somebody?
I think it's Sam.
Oh,
hi.
Hi.
Sorry. Hello.
Welcome to a podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hi, Internet.
But yeah, so I guess we can kind of... I don't know what we have to really say about that one that we haven't said. It's just...
Yeah, like...
I think one thing I'll say is that maybe definitely unintended side effect is that watching these films in 2016 makes me feel very nostalgic for early 2000s video animation.
Yeah.
And early 2000s internet horror.
Yeah.
At that point, like, assuming that's when these ones came out, like, nothing like this had ever been done before. And now, like, we're kind of in a sea of that kind of stuff.
It's one of those things where people talk about Blair Witch, and really, there was a time you could see Blair Witch when Blair Witch was new. And the ideas and the novelty of the thing it was creating were so like, and the did it really happen? Did it not happen? Yeah. Like that whole side of it was like so crazy that it made that movie made the most popular or the most profitable movie ever made.
Yeah, and it sparked the genre of found footage.
It was the first
single-handedly. It wasn't.
I didn't think it wasn't the first, but it was the first very successful one.
Yeah. Like the first one is actually Cannibal Holocaust, but
wow.
In the 80s.
Listen, if we're going to talk about the classics, let's go back to the real one.
Yeah. But the later, it definitely like everybody does found footage now, like for horror movies, and
it's also kind of the early internet horror. Also reminds me of all of the Slender series as well.
Yeah.
And how Marble Hornets, Tribe 12. Even Everyman Hybrid. It's all like there's such an oversaturation of stories that try to be just like Marble Hornets that it's not scary anymore.
Yeah, it's the thing. It's the thing where like this was spoiled by all the things it inspired that weren't as good as it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like I think on the way up here we're talking about Silent Hill the movie and how Silent Hill the movie didn't ruin Jacob's Ladder. Jacob's Ladder is just because Jacob's Ladder is very different actually.
Yeah. It just shows you now that how how much better the original one was versus the new stuff.
Yeah, and it's the thing, like, again, like, Marble Hornets was... It was great because it was the first thing to really effectively use the Slender Man. And this is, like, username 666, and, like, I think PiroPito's stuff is really interesting because it's not... Even his own stuff is not like any of his other stuff. There's definitely, like, a theme and a throughput, but everything feels very, like, original. Like, he's like, let's try doing this.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like, let's document a entire my ant farm, like, concept. Or let's use these dolls, or let's use paper cutout characters.
Yeah, and it's just and I think that's the kind of thing. Like, I guess we can get into recommendations.
Yeah. I suppose. Oh, actually, there was one other thing. I mean,
okay, and
because of the spirit of yeah, that's true. Actually, that one for the actual videos and stuff like that. Maybe you should go first because the other one,
that was the nostalgic early 2000s.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That was that thought.
All right. My other thing was just like in the spirit of Gen Con, like how would you use these videos for like a horror scenario or for like an RPG game?
How would you mine ideas out of these?
Exactly. Yeah, and like for what system? Like, would you suggest?
Well, I think the first thing that comes into my head is putting your players in a situation where they have zero control over anything. Like, there is this thing that's happening to you. How do you deal with it? You have, like, nothing at your disposal.
Yeah, I can see that being, like, a very, like, fatalist Call of Cthulhu game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
like, fear itself.
Yeah, like, that's the whole thing of like, Pogo Pogo Picoton, is that it's... I know this word gets overused a lot, but this cosmic horror idea that these characters are... characters are victims to something that exists outside, and I guess it's not cosmic horror in the insignificance of it, it's that they have no control over their world.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard to make a game around, because if you make a game where everybody's just doomed and they realize that, then they lose the motivation, because it's unwinnable. Like, why try?
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, like, I could see Picoton as something like, and this might just be influences I have from other stuff, but if you could go to the sort of the cliched trope of being trapped in something like a film or something like that, being trapped in another environment. Like, that's the thing about Picoton, is that we're watching it happen, and we're watching whoever made it destroy it.
Yeah.
And so you can go with that kind of thing. That this has also been done before. Like, if you look at fucking like Comic Zone for the Sega Genesis, there's a level. Yeah. The whole thing is you're trapped in a comic book. There's a level there where the antagonist of the game is trying to kill you by burning the comic book.
Yeah.
And so you have to outrun the comic. You have to run from panel to panel as the comic book is incinerated.
Yeah.
I actually made a Monsters and Other Childish Things monster in a similar vein, where the concept was that the monster was created by some author and then attempted to basically erase it, but didn't work. So
nice.
Yeah.
I when I first looked at Picoton, I actually it might have been also because I also am a backer of a certain Kickstarter and had that happen an update for that. But Puppet Land.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because Puppet Land is supposed to have that contrast of like childhood nostalgia, or like kind of like cutesy innocenceness with like creepy, grim, like.
Yeah, because it's about a puppet world, but like all the I don't know a lot about Puppet Land, but just like from what I've seen, it's a puppet world, but all the puppets are like super fucking like creepy.
Yeah, well, yeah, Puppet Land is essentially Jim Henson mixed with Call of Cthulhu, kind of, not really. Essentially, the premise is that, or the premise of the actual in-game setting is that the maker, who is a actual puppeteer or puppet maker, created Puppet Land and then died, and was murdered by one of his like greatest creations, which was, and then the creation cut off his face and starts wearing it like him to be the new maker, and starts making puppets out of flesh.
So
so it goes kind of like from Jim Henson to like not David Lynch, but like trying to think of like a horror, like Stephen King maybe.
before you said that last part, I was going to say it's like Spy Kids 2, but never mind.
Yeah, no, now it's like
that's like it's a creepy premise.
It's like a reverse House of Wax.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the classic animator versus animation kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's
speaking of early 2000 Flash video.
Yeah.
That's the backstory of it, and then the rest of it is like you're playing as different types of puppets in this dystopian, grim, dark place.
That's horrifying.
In this terrifying flesh palace.
Exactly. But yeah, I could see it being. I could see that being run with it, or like even Little Fears maybe. Or like
you could go with Lost Episode kind of thing.
Yeah, like same with like Username 66. I could see being like an investigate, like a post video game.
Yeah, it would like the only way I could see it working is like The Ring.
Yeah,
or like or you do it the same way you do like a Candyman or a Bloody Mary kind of scenario.
Yeah, where like the people are investigating. Either you're playing the victims who decide to try this ritual out, and it happens, and then you have to deal with the situation.
Now the thing is like the way that 666 sets itself up is that it seems to end with Samara. I'm going to keep referencing The Ring. It ends with Samara fucking climbing out of the TV and like destroying you.
Yeah,
and you'd have to make it something different for the game. You'd have to alter it so that they're doomed.
It has to be winnable.
Yeah, they have to be doomed in a different way because like otherwise you might as well just run it in Dread and like this thing. Yeah. You watch and then the video's kind of incidental. It's just this monster's appeared, run from it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's less interesting because unless you have a specific way that the monster's dealt with. Or something specific about how the monster operates. I know one thing, and this is jumping topics a little bit more. But are either of you familiar with the horror game Ebe?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is made in art. Like one of the things I like about that is that you're in a haunted art gallery, and all the paintings are trying to kill you, but they're like limited to what they are. So like, there's one of the main enemies is called like the portrait of the lady. And the main thing there is that because she's only a portrait, even though she's alive, she doesn't have, like, a bottom half. So all she can do is crawl after you because her hands and her body are in the frame and she's just dragging her frame behind her.
Yeah.
And so if you come up with some limitations that 666 has based on how it's like a YouTube video or something like that, and don't make them apparent, but like that's if you want to get into the Jason Voorhees route of like the only way to stop him is to put him back in Camp Crystal Lake or something.
Yeah,
you could have some other weird internet ritual that you have to perform to stop 666 or. Or some kind of technology thing to stop him or stop it.
Well,
and you don't know. Yeah, and you don't even know what 666. Like we don't even know what 666 is, and that's part of what makes it. And we don't know what happens and that's what makes it good horror is that it just leaves you there.
Yeah, it leaves you wondering and then dreading.
And that reminds me that. Every monster you create has to have rules, even if the players don't know the rules behind it. And that reminds me a lot of the horror movie It Follows.
I love that movie.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
I still haven't seen it.
And the creature that follows these teens, they don't know how it works, but it's very clear to me that the writer knew how that monster worked exactly, which is good because you have to follow rules that you set for yourself. Otherwise, you can just do anything you want.
Otherwise, you have like fucking Stay Alive, where they wanted to make The Ring but a video game, and then they realized that like, oh wait, the players are going to stop playing the game that kills them. The game plays itself.
Yeah.
If you don't play it, it turns itself back on, and it's like, oh, no, that's fucking stupid.
Frankie Muniz even says in that movie, it's like, wait, that's cheating, you stupid.
Yeah.
It Follows is definitely a good example of that kind of thing, because, like, I agree, like, they have no idea what's chasing them, but they do actually get, like, the rules.
Yeah, they get at least a glimpse of
because they get
the limitations.
They like, confront the last victim.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a series, like, I wish that movie had more, like, exposure, I guess. Because it was really good.
Yeah, it's the movie, I think it's the movie that, Unfriended was supposed to be.
Yeah.
The movie that Unfriended should have been.
Yeah.
But Unfriended got a lot more popular because they had a gimmick. it had sort of an interesting gimmick that it didn't use well.
Yeah, and It Follows was unique and original, so obviously it wasn't going to be popular.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing about, like, you look at Jacob's Ladder. I believe that movie was, like, a commercial failure when it came out, but then...
And now it's a pop culture thing, yeah. Wow, we're kind of slowly transitioning away from...
Yeah.
We're going away from the thing to other horror movies, because that's what happens when you have a lot of people that watch horror movies together.
Kind of simimer vein.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're talking about, like, the main themes of this was, like, the weird technology monsters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even though Pipoton wasn't a technology monster, it was something.
Well, it's just, like, the futility of everything.
Yeah, it was, And there's also a lot of people who are like, oh, man, it's about child molestation. It's like, that's a very base level way to interpret that. Maybe it doesn't...
I can kind of see it being like Innocence Lost kind of thing, or like Innocence being destroyed.
Yeah.
But that's about... Like, I wouldn't go so far as the molestation.
Yeah.
Alright, I guess that's about it for that. So recommendations then?
Yeah, definitely. I'd definitely say subscribe to PiroPito's. Subscribe to Nana825763. A lot of super interesting videos. Well, not a lot of super interesting videos. That account's been up for 10 years, and I think there's like a dozen or so videos on there, maybe a couple dozen. Because he puts in work.
Yeah.
He fucking puts in work.
Yeah, he like for the artwork, for the like watching art essentially, which is really what it is like high art with some narrative. I'd recommend going to watch it and like check it out at least once.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's not always horror, which is refreshing. I think a lot of it is just performance art, which is great. That's not something you see a lot of. That's pretty popular on YouTube. So
yeah.
The other filmmaker that I haven't found anything listed here, but another filmmaker that was listed as an inspiration was Jan Svankmajer.
Don't know that name.
That's I might be mispronouncing that. It's a Swedish name, and I'm not sure how all the letters are pronounced. That is. If you look him up, he's famous for creating videos like Meat Love. And other kinds of stuff.
You said that off recording. Yeah, right.
He has a very storied history of short films, and I think a couple features. I can't remember now. But yeah, he's. It's someone who took inspiration. PiroPito is someone who took inspiration from something and made it his own.
Yeah,
you can definitely see you can see the influences from Susan Pitt especially in his early stuff. It definitely looks a lot more like Susan Pitt's animation. But then as it gets further and further, the influence is still there, but he came into his own. He remixed stuff, he adapted, he added on.
All right. So I guess that's this week's episode of El Dente.
Yeah.
So if you like what you heard, if you didn't, leave a comment in the comment section below where this is posted, whether it be on Kiwi6, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr,
Grindr.
Like us on Grindr.
Like us on Grindr. Send dick pics to aldenteyrigamortis@gmail.com.
We still haven't gotten a, thank God. First time I've said that. I'm on Twitter at Review Cultist. Would you like to shamelessly plug?
I'm at Twitter at Catman2455. My podcast is also at The Drunken Ugly. You can also find us on Facebook at The Drunken Ugly. Go to our website, drunkenugly.com, our other website, theyknowthings.com, or the much prettier looking theyknowthings.tumblr.com.
There's no theyknowthings.grindr.com?
Not yet.
I don't think that's how Grindr works.
We're trying.
Go like The Drunken Ugly on Facebook. I moderate that page. It's very, very, very new. So please just go like us on it so I will have someone to speak to when I post on Facebook.
All right. And you can also leave suggestions at aldenteyrigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenteyrigamortis@gmail.com, where you can leave us suggestions for other creepypastas or other creepy videos, which we may or may not get to at a convention at the time, or at a cross podcast thing. And if you'd like, you can donate. So go to crazonstudios.tumblr.com, where you can leave you can check out all the title cards for each episode, and on the side there's a little donate button. So this has been Review Cultist.
I'm Matt.
And Charlotte.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.
Some dick pics.
Damn it. As you may... Oh, wait, yeah, there's no... I was planning to do this like in a lobby because of the background noise, so I had that prepped, but damn, okay.
You can hear the background noise of a fridge.
Yay.
Yeah. Okay, so I still thought it. Review cultist. Review cultist. Review cultist. Review cultist. Review cultist. Review cultist.